Hello and welcome to another Manage360 Continued Training webinar. My name is Chris Turney. I'm an implementation specialist here at Dynascape. And today we're going to be going over some tips and tricks to help utilize Manage360 and make it as efficient as possible when working within the system. So some of these things are going to seem fairly basic here. We're going to be going over views, some housekeeping options here, creating some custom internal reports, and some billing features to make sure that nothing gets missed. So to start things off, I'm going to start here on the home page. And you're going to notice that on most pages here, we have the ability to create some views. And normally on the home page here, if you do go to the view by default, most likely you're going to have this set to be my tasks. This is an internal view. You can't change or edit it, but it is going to show you any tasks that are assigned to you when you are logged in here. So I'm logged in as a support. This is showing me all of the open tasks for me. Now we can create some custom views. And you do so by clicking on that plus icon right there, and then going in and adding some criteria. So in this example, I will have it assigned is equal to Aaron, and then I'm going to go down and I'm going to maybe do the due date is equal to this week, and we'll just call it test 1, and we will save the view. And what we have now done is that we now have the only task here that is assigned to Aaron that is due this week. We can see that it's due on Friday here. So that's kind of at a high level there how we are going to use views. Now the views are on all of the different pages here. So if I go into construction estimates, we have views. If I go to production jobs, we have views. They're pretty much everywhere, anywhere that we have this list style page. So what we can do is we can go in, and I'm going to go into the construction estimate page, and I already have this view here called close old jobs. Let's go in and edit this view. So this is not actually a job. These are estimates. And on this page, we have some criteria that needs to be met. So what we've done here is we have estimation date is less than January 1st, 2024. So this is showing me any estimates that were created before January 1st, 2024. They also have to be in the construction division, and their status has to be equal to active. Now, in order for all three of these parameters to be used when utilizing this filter, the option up at the top here where it says contains data that matches all or any, it needs to be selected at all. If I did pick any, this means that if any of these criteria are met, then the items will be shown in the list. So pretty much most of the time you're going to be using all, but there are some unique circumstances or scenarios where you might want to use the any option. Now, what we're going to do here is this is going to be kind of segueing into the next topic that I would like to talk about, and that is going to be some housekeeping options within Manage360. So keeping Manage360 tidy when it comes to the data is always useful. This is going to be for running reports. This is going to be used for creating views. Anything of that nature when we want to, filter down and just get that information we're looking for. Well, if the system doesn't have that information, we're not going to be able to get it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this view. And what we're going to notice here is that on the construction estimate page, we have a lot of entities, or we have a lot of items here that meets the criteria that we just set within this view here. And if I go select all, I'll be able to see that there's actually, just shy of 1,300 estimates that are old, that are open, or that are in this active status. And in reality, they should probably be closed off to help keep Manage neat and tidy there. So the quick and easy way to do this is going to be using the common actions. And this is kind of now comboing, the views here with our common actions. And I can go in And if I wanted to, I could select all 1300. For this example, I'm just going to select the first page here. But I can go into common actions and I can archive them, which doesn't mean that they were lost. It just means that they were not qualified, or I can lose them. I am going to select lost in this case here. And just so you are aware, this is going to be reflected on any, say, sales performance or sales pipeline reports there. If I was the salesperson for one of these particular estimates here, and I do go through this process, if I then run one of those reports, it may look like I lost some estimates. And I mean, in all reality, you might not be 100% sure if the estimate was won but not turned into a job. If you are on our tier 1 model, you don't really have access to the job side of things, but it is still in your best interest to go ahead and win your estimates. So that way, if you do ever decide to move on up to our tier 2 model, all the data will be in a good format for you to be able to start moving forward with. So let's go ahead and lose these 25 estimates here. And you can now see, just like that, now that they don't meet the criteria of our view, they have now, they're not vanished, but they're no longer showing up here because they are in the closed status. So once you go ahead and say kind of close off all of these, you can then create some new views, to be able to show you, say estimates that were created this week or so forth, and be able to actually start taking advantage of that now that, some of the information that was not correct is now correct. So moving on, so we can do this on the construction estimate, and we can do this on the maintenance estimate page, but on the job page, you're going to notice that we don't have the ability here to use the common actions. And it is still in your best interest to go through and make sure that old jobs have their status changed from the open to the closed status. Just like I mentioned before, these are for reporting purposes, filtering here, just keeping things neat and tidy. A construction job will not automatically close, so it is a manual process that you do have to go in and actually change the job status from open to closed. So similarly to how, billing is not automated, you have to go in and you have to select your items that are, ready to be billed here. So, if I go and put out, say it was 100% complete, I'm now in a bill out for the $6,400. Same thing goes with the job status. So it is, good housekeeping practices here that when a job has been, finished off, all of the billing's been complete, no work is, or no additional work needs to be done, that you go in and we change it to be closed. Now, oftentimes this might slip your mind because, say, we have our start and end dates here. Essentially what was going to happen is that the job was going to show up on construction crew number 4's timesheet from November 14th to November 29th. And then after that date, it, kind of seemingly seems like it has disappeared, or at least from that front end timesheet area. But on the back end, the job is still considered open and there's still potentially invoices that need to be sent out. So this is going to kind of segue into the next topic that I wanted to talk about, and that's going to be keeping your billing up to date. So when I go to the billing tab, by default, I'm going to have the original contract selected from this drop-down menu here. And this is going to show me the value that was originally agreed upon when that contract was signed. Now, during the duration of that job, there is definitely the possibility that a change order has been applied to the job, either be a negative or positive value. And we want to make sure that nothing slips through the cracks here. So before, we would have had to go into this drop-down menu and change to the second change order here, and then go in and do the billing for this change order. We have a new feature now, or a new filter, I guess you could say, called All Contracts. And if I select this, all on the same page here, I'm going to be able to see the original contract, payment schedule, and any additional change orders. So this is a very nice way to ensure that, like I said, nothing gets missed, slips through the cracks, and everything's kind of displayed on one page. When it does come time to actually create the invoice, there's two ways we can go about doing it. So either by, once these boxes have been selected and under the Ready for Billing heading, I can go click the Create Invoice button and I can create the invoice directly from here. Or I can go ahead and save this and I'm just going to copy this job number here. Click save, and I'm going to then hop on over to the billing tab here, and I'm just going to do a quick search for that job number. And here it is. So we'll be able to see the original contract value and then the two change orders. And just like within the job there, I can select all three and click create invoice. So basically, if doing it this way would be if you have a billing person or somebody else that does the billing. If the same person that kind of manages the job here does the billing, you're probably just going to want to do it directly from this page. But nonetheless, you are going to have to come in here and do this, and it's just good practice that once the last billing has been sent out, go ahead and change the job status to closed. All right, so the last thing that I'm going to talk about today is going to be under the report section. So within Manage360, we have the capability of creating some custom reports. And there's actually kind of two ways that we can go ahead or go about doing this. The first way is going to be the way that I'm going to show you here in just a second, and that's going to be to use a already created report within Manage360 and change the parameters that are shown to kind of break it down to just what you're looking for, just a few items that you want to change. We'll go ahead and hide everything else. And it's not a truly customized report, but from the sense of kind of, not having to go in and change a whole bunch of things, it is customized. The second customized report that we do have is a paid for feature, but it is a fully customized report. So, if you have a question or you'd like to get some information out of the system and you don't think that currently there's a way to do so, always send in an email to support@dynascape.com. Our support team will try to take a look at it and see if they're able to, come up with a solution for you. But if it truly is that there is no report within Manage that gets that information, or you'd kind of like to combine a few different reports to show all the information in one area, a custom report or a fully custom report might be beneficial to you. What you do is you'd sit down with one of our product managers there, kind of go through the criteria that, or credentials that the report needs to meet there, and then it would move over to our development team. They would develop it for you. Then it would be solely placed onto your Manage360 site. Like I said, it does, require development work there, so it is paid for feature, but just something to keep it in the back of your minds there if we currently don't have a report that you're looking for. So to continue on here, what I'm going to do to make a custom report with the features we have available to us is within the reports page here, I'm going to select the new report button. And this is going to bring me to a list of our default reports. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select the job profitability report to kind of customize here. This is probably one of the most popular reports that is run out of Manage. So let's go ahead and make a custom one. So we'll call it Chris's custom report. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this back to the beginning of the year. All right. And I'm going to change some of these groupings here. So I'm going to go job, and then I'm going to go item type, and then item, and I'm going to leave the last two as no grouping. The more groupings that you do put onto a report, the longer it is going to take to run, just because there's more data that it has to grab from the database there. And then I'm also going to hide some of these columns here. I'm not interested in the overhead or the invoiced values there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm also going to uncheck the prompt user box. And what this is doing is these values are still set. It's just not going to show up on the parameters page when I go ahead to run this report in just a second here. So I'm going to pick just the construction division because that's the division I work in. And I'm also going to hide it. And then let's go down and let's start turning off some of these. I want them all turned on. But I don't want to see them on the front page there. All right, there's just a few more. Oh, and I'm actually going to leave this on. I'll turn this off, and we'll leave this bottom one on. And let's go ahead and save. So once I save here, what we're going to notice is that this page is much smaller than it was previously. So all of those items that I turned off the prompt user for is no longer showing up. And now I have a very easy way to go ahead and quickly run, a report that I like to run often without having a lot of options to pick and choose from. So that is going to conclude today's, tips and tricks webinar. Hopefully you learned something. Some of these things were basic, but with everyone's skill level of Manage360 at different areas, I thought that this would be a good kind of middle ground for most people to relate with, and hopefully that they learn something and take away from it. So I'm going to turn the floor to any questions that you may have. You can ask me anything you like about Manage. It doesn't have to be about anything that I covered today. If you have any questions, feel free, throw them in the chat, and we can talk about it. All right.
Hey, I have a question, please. It's Kirsten from Carolyn's.
Hey, Kristen.
Hey, I have to run weekly reports to show the open opportunities for a certain time period, as well as what was closed out for the week, which was sold and lost. But we were wondering, we have quite a few jobs that are not involving an estimate and just being a job. But our salespeople or managers are wondering, how can they show their sales if they did a job and not through an estimate? Is there a way to show a report?
Okay, so are you talking about a work order, so like a non-contract
Yes,
T&M work
excuse
order?
me, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
when I create a regular work order. Yes, sir.
Yeah, for sure. So we only have one report in the system that is going to show that, and it is the sorry, it's the non-contract job profitability report here. So this is the only one we have. There are no other ones when it comes to a T&M work orders there. So this is what you're going to want to use. Now, there is going to be no actual. So essentially, this is going to be very similar to the job profitability report, except it is not going to, it's only showing actuals because there is no estimated, right? Because on a T&M work order, what you charge out to the customer is what you charge. So you may have created that work order with initially 10 hours worth of labor on it. They go out to do the job, and 14 hours worth of labor gets applied. That 10 we get updated to 14, and we don't store the historic information of what the original values are. So just be aware that, yeah, you can run this report, and you can do it by all of these criteria here. So you can run it for a particular salesperson. You just won't be able to get the estimated, but you will be able to see what the actual profit was, what the revenue was, if you're doing things like that for commission or whatnot. So
well, great. Thank you for showing.
No problem. Yeah, and if you do have any further questions when you do get in there to run the report, and this goes for anything, feel free to just send an email into support@dynascape.com. You can always put attention Chris in the subject line there if you want me to take a look at it, since you did come in from this webinar. And yeah, if you have like a specific question or the data doesn't seem to be aligning up to what you thought it was, yeah, send it in. We'll take a look at it for you.
Sounds great. Thank you.
No problem. All right. I do have another question here from Nathaniel. So I have a question. How do you modify the template for an estimate to do a simple breakdown? I just want a simple breakdown of all the line item costs. I don't want to see the labor in the material labor over and over. There's a way to customize it for the estimate, or is there a standard way? So Nathan, I'm going to make an assumption here. I think we're talking about the actual proposal parameters. So let's hop on over to a construction estimate here. And Nathan, feel free to unmute yourself and speak here if you have any additional information, or if you can't, just type it in the chat here. But yeah, let's just go into a random estimate here, and we will go to the view proposal. So I'll show you kind of the standard way, and this is actually it. So generally speaking, this would be your general typical way of going about creating a proposal. And what this is basically we're breaking everything up into work areas. We're not showing any line items or any information like that. It would just be purely the work area, the price, the description. The description is where you would give that customer like a front-facing message about as to what you are actually doing. So if it was like a driveway install, it might be something along the lines of, remove old asphalt driveway, add a 6-inch layer base, compact it, and add Teco block bluestone on top, or whatever the case may be. So the customer knows why they're paying $10,000 or whatever the case may be. It does look like he added some additional information, Grace. Um, oh, okay. So I guess this question is from Gracie there. So I think the way to go about this is it sounds like you maybe and Nathaniel or Gracie, feel free to shoot me a message if we want to go over this in a little bit more detail afterwards. But what it sounds like is that we've gone into this items section and we've maybe turned this on. And I'll just quickly do this so you can kind of see what an everything on proposal looks like. Uh, so let's go ahead and open this proposal up here quickly. If it wants to open, okay, it's on my other screen here. Give me 1 second. It's over. Okay. So this is kind of what it looks like when you turn everything on. So I think to what you're talking about is, we have a work area, and then within that work area, we have, all of our plants, the quantities, descriptions. There's a lot going on right now. We have our labor, these are our kits here and the pricing of our kits, and then going down, we break out these kits. These are some kit information or kit notes here. So yeah, this can definitely look very cluttered and confusing there. But if I do go in and even just by simply unchecking the singular line items here, this is going to drastically clean up how the proposal looks. Now, there is many ways that we can go ahead and we can kind of configure these items in many different ways to kind of get what you're looking for. A lot of it also relies on how you actually enter the information or data into the system in the first place. But here, now we can see that things are kind of, neat or tidier than they were before. We were able to see, this is the kit there, or sorry, this is the work area, and then within the work area, we have our kits. So this is just basically stating the kit name here, the lead item, and then the size of that kit, and then the total price of it. To clean things up even more, like I was mentioning earlier, oftentimes people do something like this. And this might look a little plain when I go to do it because I don't believe that there's any work area descriptions right now. But this is the cleanest way to go about doing a proposal here. And this would just be Softscape items, and then there would be generally a little blurb down here, like I was mentioning, that explains what the work area is, why they're paying $8,300. And then the same thing goes for materials in this case. Now, generally speaking, these work area names are probably not the best. Softscape items might be something like front garden bed, and materials may be better used as like back patio or something like that. These naming conventions probably could have been a little bit better, but that's kind of the idea. So yeah, so if you have any additional information there, or if Gracie wants to get a hold of me, Nathan, feel free, let her know to shoot me off an email, and I can meet up quickly with her to go over any maybe further questions that she may have. Uh, does anyone else have any other questions that they would like to ask? You can go over anything here. Um, what other thing I did want to mention, and I think I kind of skipped over this when I was doing the house cleaning, but it's also best to also do the same thing for your opportunities as well. So there are sometimes the case when an opportunity does not have an estimate in it. So just for the example here, I'm going to go ahead and delete this estimate, which is going to leave me with an empty opportunity. So this opportunity, it never went anywhere. We were hoping, we were thinking about getting some work done from us, but that ended up not being the case. Instead of just leaving this opportunity in the open status and going on, with your day there, it is still best to go ahead and change the status to closed. We will get a few other additional fields that pop up after we change it to closed. So here's where we can change the outcome reason. I'll just change it to not qualified. The reason down here, these are customizable. So you can go ahead in the settings section of Manage360 and you can create your own outcome reasons. So we'll just do other in this case. And then a date does need to be selected. So if I tried to save this without doing an outcome date, I'd get an error message, but I'm just going to select today's date and then save. So by doing this, I have now kind of cleaned up my opportunities. So when it does come back to that housekeeping, it's going to be all opportunities, all estimates, in all jobs. And this is just going to, like I said, help keep things neat and tidy and managed so that, as the years go on, this data doesn't kind of lump up into, I'll just say it, like a mess that seems like it's really hard to clean up. If you do it as you move along, it's going to be a lot easier there. Um, One other thing that I did want to mention, and I didn't put in the video, this is going to be like a little tip and trick for your crew members or your foreman there. But if you are using the mobile app, you may have noticed that when you go into the items tab of the mobile app, you can see the estimated quantity and you can enter in today's quantity. But if the job's been going on for a little while, sometimes it's nice to have the information as to how much of this material has been used to date. And if you do want to get that information, we do have it available on the mobile app, but there is a small little trick to get it. Just due to the sizing and the way that the page is laid out, when it's in vertical mode or kind of upright mode there, you won't be able to see the column. But if you do turn your phone into landscape mode or so that it's horizontal, you will be able to see the to date column when you are in the items tab there. So that's a little nice tip and trick that you can pass along to your foreman there. I'm sure they'll greatly appreciate it because it's that way. Yeah, they can easily see how much has been used, the past week or up to date. How much should I be using now? And then it's going to give them a good gauge as to like, okay, are we going to go drastically over on the gravel or whatever material this is, or are we looking like we're going to we overestimated? So that's one other nice tip and trick that you can pass along there. We do have one last question here from Nathan. So time and material for snow work. What is the best way to create time and material for snow and still use the app? Will this be complicated if it's not something that we technically don't schedule? Usually snow is something that we can organize in advance. So snow is kind of not a tricky one, but it's probably the topic of a larger subject here. When it comes to snow, the issue with it is sure, sometimes it's going to snow, you can see a big storm coming through, but other times it's kind of sporadic. What we often recommend is to add it in as a reoccurring visit. So we have a couple different ways of doing this, but it would just be a general reoccurring visit. And where the kind of customization is going to come into place when we add it to a route. So we can have that visit set, and it still could be time and material. You can have contracted time and material maintenance visits. But when it actually comes to kind of scheduling that out, the best way to do it is going to be with a manual route. So you can add the visit there to a route of, let's say you're doing commercial properties, you throw in all the commercial properties in maybe the southwest corner of the town there, and then when it does snow, you can go ahead at that time create the occurrence, and then that automatically would create all the visits. put it onto a timesheet for you, and then the guys can get it onto their mobile app. If you're doing it just by doing work orders here, this is going to be a little time consuming because every time it snows, you'd have to go in and make a new work order for that customer and then, assign it to a crew and put it on a timesheet. It's definitely going to be a lot easier if you already have that set up beforehand, and all you have to do when it snows is just simply go in and execute that route. So I think that answered the question there. But once again, Nathan, feel free if you wanna email me here to maybe book a a 30-minute session or so to kind of go over these two items that you had questions about in detail, regardless if that's you or somebody from your team. That's something that we absolutely can do to help make sure that we've answered all of your questions here. But I think that answers the question from the way that I read it. You're like I said, you're more than welcome to do it directly from the work order page. It's just that's going to be more time consuming than it would be kind of presetting it up there. So that does bring us to the end of our session here. And okay, I'm glad that was able to answer your question there, Nathan. So thank you everyone for attending. And I don't want to repeat myself, but feel free if you have any further questions, you have something itching, even if it's just something small, you didn't feel like asking it kind of in this group scenario, feel free, send a question into support@dynascape.com. You can always put attention Chris in the subject line, and I will take a look at it for you. All right. Have a great day, everyone. And I'm sure I'll speak to some of you in the distant future. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.